Welcome to this explainer. We're diving straight into a full-on investigation of a backyard balcony crime scene today, and hopefully we can help you manage your own botanical struggles along the way. I mean, think about it. Think about the sheer amount of time, the care, the watering, the premium sunlight you invest into growing your own herbs. You nurture them from these tiny, fragile seedlings with dreams of a fresh, aromatic harvest. But if you've ever walked out to your garden only to find your prized plants suddenly looking, well, a little worse for wear, almost like the life is literally draining out of them, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're putting on our botanical detective hats. We're going to analyze some genuinely fascinating source material to crack this very specific case. So let's hook right into this mystery and figure out exactly what is attacking your precious herbs. Picture this scenario. You step outside to pick some fresh basil for a homemade dish. You're fully expecting those lush, vibrant green leaves that just smell amazing, but instead, you find a wilting, struggling, frankly sad-looking plant that is clearly under immense stress. So what's happening here? Who is the culprit? Let's consult the evidence. Okay, to really understand this, let's look at some context straight from our source material. This investigation actually comes to us from a gardener named Ang, who sets the scene by pointing out a stark difference in pest resistance between two very popular types of basil grown side by side on a balcony. Take common basil and holy basil, for example. Ang noticed something super puzzling. One of these was acting like an absolute magnet for an unseen intruder, while the other, completely ignored. Perfectly fine. I mean, why would a pest completely decimate one variety but act like its immediate neighbor doesn't even exist? It's a great question, and this strange behavior is exactly what prompted a much closer look at what was really going on among those leaves. All right, let's move to the physical evidence and walk through the exact visual symptoms of an attack. This is essentially your diagnostic checklist. If you're looking at your basil right now, you want to run through these 3 steps. First step, look at the overall shape of the foliage. Are the leaves curling up defensively, looking somewhat distorted? Second, check the perimeter. Are you seeing yellow or brown edges forming along the margins? It almost looks like the plant is getting scorched. And third, and honestly, this is the real smoking gun, if you gently flip that curling leaf over and inspect it closely, do you see a cluster of tiny black dots underneath? Because if you're checking all 3 of those boxes, you absolutely have an active crime scene on your hands. Based on some incredibly close-up macro photos taken right at the scene, we can actually start to put together a profile of our culprit. They are small in size, they possess a distinct pear-shaped body, and they rock this matte black color. Now, because they're matte black, they can easily camouflage themselves against the dark potting soil if they happen to fall off. But on the plant, they create a stark, unmistakable contrast against the bright green of your basil leaves. Sure, they don't look incredibly menacing on their own, just tiny dark specks, but do not let their microscopic size fool you. They are highly, highly efficient at what they do. And this brings us to the true identity of our suspect. This isn't just random dirt or potting soil splashed onto your plant during a heavy rainstorm. No, this is a highly specialized, highly destructive little insect that specifically targets soft, leafy greens. Yep, it is the notorious black aphid. They are relentless sapsuckers that plague gardeners all over the world. But you have to wonder, how exactly do they cause so much widespread damage when they're so tiny you might completely miss them at first glance? Well, the secret to their modus operandi is honestly an evolutionary marvel. They hide out and drain the plant's lifeblood using specialized biological tools called piercing, sucking mouthparts. They literally puncture the delicate tissue of the leaf and just continuously suck out the nutrient-rich plant sap. But the real genius here, it's their stealth. Because they intentionally operate underneath the leaf itself acts like a giant umbrella. They're completely shielded from the harsh midday sun, hidden from the eyes of casual predators, all while they slowly starve your basil plant from the bottom up. Now, you might look closely at your plant and think, okay, spotting just 1 or 2 of these little guys on a leaf really isn't a big deal. I can just flick them off, right? Well, unfortunately, that single aphid is really just the tip of the iceberg. Because in the blink of an eye, a couple of aphids can turn into a massive, plant-destroying bunch. Ang notes in the gardening journal that this infestation happens incredibly quickly, and the timeline is honestly shocking for any gardener. One day, your basil looks perfectly fine, healthy, lush, ready for harvest. And then, seemingly the very next day, you flip a leaf over and the entire underside is coated in a writhing, matte black carpet of aphids. It's just a sudden, aggressive takeover. The terrifying reason behind this lightning speed comes down to what is basically a biological cheat code: rapid asexual reproduction. That's right, no male fertilization needed whatsoever. Every single aphid you see can rapidly produce more aphids entirely on its own. There's no waiting around to find a mate, no complex reproductive cycle to slow things down. It is pure, unadulterated, exponential multiplication. One aphid becomes 10 in a matter of days, and those 10, they quickly become 100. This is exactly why an infestation goes from 0 to 100 almost overnight, totally overwhelming the plant before it even has a chance to react. So, when it comes to dishing out justice and actually saving your harvest, you do have a couple of options. You could easily go with an organic extermination method using a simple DIY sprayer, just a mixture of household detergent and cooking oil. The mechanics here are pretty straightforward. The oil essentially smothers the aphids, and the detergent helps wash them away from the leaves. It's safe, it's effective, and it uses things you literally already have sitting in your kitchen. But our author, well, Ang chose a surprising, highly creative, eco-friendly plot twist instead. Instead of just wiping them out entirely, Ang decided to organically harvest the pests. As noted in the journal, these aphids became a free organic protein source specifically for the balcony guppies. While purposely keeping a few aphids around just to monitor how the various plants naturally react and build resilience to them, Ang effectively turned a deeply frustrating backyard pest problem into highly nutritious fish food. I mean, it is just a brilliant, practical example of closing the loop and creating a tiny, self-sustaining ecosystem right there on an apartment balcony. Okay, let's quickly run through the main takeaways from this explainer so you can protect your own balcony crops while staying totally eco-conscious. First, always inspect the undersides of those curling leaves. Remember, the leaf is their umbrella, that is exactly where they hide. Second, you have to act fast. You now know their asexual reproduction means they multiply exponentially, so time is definitely not on your side. Third, you can easily treat an outbreak with that safe detergent and cooking oil mix if you just want them gone fast. Or fourth, and this is my favorite, if you happen to have an aquarium, you can completely repurpose them as a fresh organic snack for your fish. Which brings us to this final, lingering thought for you to chew on. Are pests just a problem, or are they free fish food waiting to be harvested? Perhaps the next time you see an infestation threatening your garden, you'll see a unique opportunity instead of a full-blown crisis. Nature is incredibly resourceful, and sometimes the absolute best way to handle a botanical problem is simply to feed it to another part of your ecosystem. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay curious and happy gardening.